Hello, my name is Dapa Enoch, a system engineer student at IPMC in Ghana, and I'm almost done with my final level, which is RedHat Linux Server 7.2, and my module leader's name is Eugene Abedu. I have been given a project to work on with a topic managing partitions and file systems with FDISK. So this audio-visual presentation will lead you through how I was able to achieve my project work. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about FDISK. The FDISK command is a text-based utility used for viewing and managing hard disk partitions on Linux systems. It is one of the most powerful tools you can use to manage partitions. As one may ask, what is a text-based? I would say it is a type of task that can be done within a terminal. As in Windows, we have command prompt. In Linux, it's known as terminal. So you can use the FDISK command only within the terminal to complete a task. So that's it. I would like to take you through the basics of using FDISK to manage a partition table. After using FDISK, you will have to use mkfs, also known as make file system, as a command to format the new created partition with a suitable file system we need, like extension 3, FAT16, NTFS, and so on. So you will have to choose the best one that fits our need. So when we get there, we will choose one. On RedHat Linux systems, both the FDISK and the make file system command must be used within a super user terminal. This means a user must log in through the super user before you can get access to those commands. Now let's get to our RedHat Enterprise Linux Server 7.2 and boot it on. Then open the command prompt and log in as a super user. But before I start, let me show you something I have. You can see I have a memory of 2 gig, then 1 processor, and then 2 physical hard drives. I have 20 gigs and 80 gigs. The 80 gigs is the one the operating system is on now, and the 20 gigs is the free physical hard drive inserted in the system. So we will use the free 20 gigs to do our partition trials. But there is a warning which states that you shouldn't try to either edit or create partitions on a volume that is already running. That's the reason why I added this new installed hard drive 20 gig, so that we won't temper the 80 gig which has the operating system on it. Okay, so let's boot on our operating system. Then we fire up our terminal and we see what we can do from there. Log in as super user, then continue on with our task. Okay, so it's now booting. Our operating system is on now. So let's open our terminal. This is the terminal. Then we log into super user, switch to super user rather. So SU, then you type the password for the super user. Yeah, so we are in as a super user now, so we can start to execute our FDISK commands and go on from there. Now that we are using the terminal as super user, let's try to execute the FDISK command and see its functions. So we type FDISK space -L, which means list, and as you can see, it pulls a lot of stuffs. I'll try to identify them each. If you take this one, for instance, disk/dev/SDA 85 gigs. As I told you earlier on, this disk is the one hosting the operating system, and there is a law that you shouldn't edit already running disks or try to create partitions on them. So we are not going to temper this disk, and it's already partitioned with some LVMs. You can see SDA1 and SDA2. Let me show you something. The SDA dev/SDA is the physical disk, and when it got to partitioned, it then identified the partitions by starting from 1, 2, then 3, and so on. So it will give you SDA1, which means partition 1, SDA2, which means partition 2. Okay, same thing applies to this disk, which is disk/dev/SDB, because it is the second disk, the one I earlier installed on the system, which was 20 gigs. So you see, it is identifying it as SDB, and this one was SDA. So if this disk currently don't have any partition on it, so after we are done with our partitions on this disk, we will now have SDB1, SDB2, and so on. So that is what we are expecting to achieve at the end of the day. Let's manipulate the second disk so we can have some partitions under it. I mean this disk, this one. So at the end of the day, we can have some partitions as SDB1, SDB2, or SDB3 under it. So before we can do that, I told you earlier on that you can only use the FDISK command in a command mode. So before you can use the FDISK command to create some partitions, you need to get into the command mode, and within the command mode, a single letter command is used to specify actions you want to take. We do that by typing FDISK, then identify the disk we want to edit, which is the SDB. So it will be you type FDISK space /dev/SDB, which is the second disk we are trying to edit. Then enter. Then listen to what it is saying. It says changes will remain in memory only until you decide to write them. Be careful before using the write command. This means any changes you make to the disk will not take effect unless you write them to the disk. So let's type for help. So let's type so you can see the list of the single letter commands I was talking about. You can see something like N, which says add a new partition. and then D, delete a partition, then W, write table to disk. So this is where if you want the changes to take effect, then you use the W. Okay, so let's try to create a partition on this disk by using the single letter command as N. So N, you say, do we want to create a primary partition or a standard partition? And we can only create 4 primary partitions here. So let's try to create one primary partition by using P. So P, and you say partition number. So we will use 1, which will give us SDB1, or either we want SDB2. By default, it's going to use the SDB1. So we will use the 1. And he said the first sector, you use the default one, which is 2048. It's asking the size of disk we want to shrink. So he said you do that by starting from plus, then the size, and then either megabyte or gig. So we do that by typing plus 5, then G, which means 5 gigs. So partition 1 of Linux and of size 5 gig is set, as you can see. So we now type M for help, then as it indicated that we should use W to write the changes to the disk to take effect. So we do that by typing W to add. So we now type, if you want to see if whether the partition FDISK -L here, not I, to identify the disks. So we can now see we have this one here, SDB1, under the SDB. So we now have one partition there. So let's create another one as SDB2 by using FDISK /dev/SDB, then M, then N, then primary, then the number will be 2, then the sector default, then the size, which is plus 5. Let's do this one 6 rather, 6 G. Then we now go to M. Then we use the W to write. Then we use the FDISK space -L to list. You can see we now have the 2. So that's how you can create a disk. So let's try to delete these 2. Let's delete the 1 to see how we can delete a partition. So we do that by using the FDISK space /dev/SDB. Then we do M. Then we do D, which is for deleting. So it's deleted. We say we should select the one we want to delete. We want to delete the 2, which is the second one. No, we said we delete the first one. So 1. Then we now use W to write changes. Then we now check by using FDISK space -L to list. As you can see, we now only have the SDB2. Now I'm done with my creation of partitions. So I will then change the file system type from the default given one as Linux to maybe FAT16 or something else. So I will change the file system of SDB2, partition SDB2, this one, then from Linux as its default file system to FAT16. So I will do that by typing FDISK space /dev/SDB. Then I'll type M. Then as you can see, there's a single letter T which says change a partition's system ID. So I'll use T to change the system ID. So T. Then you see I should select the partition I want to change its file system, and that's 2. So I'll type 2. Then I should type the hex code, but I don't know the hex code for FAT16, so I will use L to list all hex codes, then study the number and type. So L. So these are the various types of file systems within RedHat. So I want FAT16, which is this one. As you can see, that's number 6. So I will type 6, then enter. Then you say change type of partition Linux to FAT16 here. So I'll type W to write the changes to the disk. So W, enter. So let's verify it by using FDISK space -L. Yeah, as you can see, dev SDB2 has been changed from Linux to FAT16. That's it. Thank you.